In a world overwhelmed by complexity, distractions, and constant noise, clarity of purpose is not just helpful, it is essential. It is the foundation upon which all meaningful solutions are built. Without it, even the most well-intentioned efforts can become scattered, reactive, and ultimately ineffective. Clarity of purpose means knowing why we are doing what we do. It means identifying the deeper values and guiding principles that drive our actions, whether as individuals, communities, organizations, or nations. When we are clear on our purpose, decisions become easier, focus becomes sharper, and the path forward, even if difficult, becomes visible. Think of it like a compass. In the fog of uncertainty, clarity of purpose is what points us toward true north. It allows us to filter out distractions and stay committed, even when the journey gets hard. Without this clarity, we risk being pulled in every direction, reacting to problems instead of solving them, and mistaking movement for progress. We live in an age where people often feel lost or overwhelmed. We chase goals without asking whether they align with what truly matters. We try to fix symptoms without addressing root causes. We prioritize convenience over conscience, speed over substance. And yet, the only solution begins with a return to purpose, to asking the hard but necessary questions. What do we value most? What kind of world do we want to live in? What do we stand for, and what are we willing to stand against? When individuals find their purpose, they gain direction and resilience. They stop waiting for permission and start creating change. When organizations find their purpose, they inspire loyalty, innovation, and trust. When societies align around a shared purpose, justice, equality, sustainability, dignity, they become powerful forces for transformation. But clarity of purpose doesn't come automatically. It requires self-reflection. It demands honesty. It challenges us to go deeper than surface-level goals and really think about what we are here to do and why it matters. And once we find that clarity, we must protect it, because distractions will come. Doubts will arise. The world will try to tell us what we should care about. But only by staying anchored to our own sense of purpose can we move forward with conviction. Ultimately, the only solution to the problems we face, whether personal, social, or global, starts with this moment of alignment. It's not just about doing more. It's about doing what matters most, with intention and integrity. That is the power of clarity, and that is where real change begins. If clarity of purpose shows us the path, courage to act is what moves our feet. It's the fire that turns intention into impact, vision into reality. Without courage, even the best ideas remain locked in our minds and hearts, unspoken, undone, and ultimately unrealized. Courage doesn't always come with confidence. In fact, it often shows up shaking. It's not the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else matters more. It's the willingness to move forward even when the outcome is uncertain, even when the road is difficult, even when we risk failure, judgment, or discomfort. Many of the greatest challenges we face today persist not because we don't have the knowledge or tools to solve them, but because we hesitate. We overthink, we delay, we wait for the perfect moment, for more certainty, more permission, more support. But history and life rarely offer perfect conditions. What they demand instead is action, even imperfect, uncomfortable action. Courage is required on every level. It takes courage for an individual to speak up for what's right in a room full of silence. It takes courage for a leader to choose ethics over profit. It takes courage for a community to challenge injustice, for a society to face its failures, and for each of us to admit when we've been wrong and try again. And here's the truth. Every meaningful solution in history began when someone chose to act despite fear. Think of the civil rights movements, revolutions for independence, breakthroughs in science, or even personal transformations in everyday people. None of them were easy. All of them were sparked by someone who said, "I won't wait any longer, I'll go first." Courage to act also means being willing to be misunderstood, to take a stand that others may not yet understand, to lead when others would rather follow, to start when no one else is ready, because often courage is contagious. One brave voice becomes 2, then 10, then thousands, but it always starts with one. In a world where it's easy to hide behind comfort, convenience, or cynicism, courage is radical. It's rare, but it's also renewable. The more we practice it, the stronger it becomes, and the more we act with courage, the more we inspire others to do the same. Courage to act is the bridge between who we are and who we can become, between the world as it is and the world as it should be. No solution, no transformation, no progress happens without it. So let us remember, the only solution is not just knowing what's right, it's doing what's right. And that always takes courage in times of crisis, conflict, or change. Division often feels like the default us versus them, right versus wrong, this side or that. But if we're serious about building lasting solutions, if we truly want progress that uplifts everyone, we must choose something far more powerful: unity over division. Unity is not the same as uniformity. It doesn't mean we all think the same, believe the same, or look the same. It means we recognize our shared humanity, that beneath our differences we are bound by common hopes, common needs, and a common future. When we choose unity, we choose to see one another not as enemies or obstacles, but as partners in building something greater than any one of us alone could create. Division is easy. It feeds on fear, misinformation, and ego. It's fueled by the belief that there's not enough to go around, not enough resources, attention, justice, or love. Division turns people into problems. It creates walls between communities, generations, nations, and even within ourselves. But unity, that takes effort. It requires listening not just to respond, but to understand. It requires humility, the ability to admit that we don't have all the answers. And it requires empathy, the radical act of caring about someone else's pain, even if we haven't lived it ourselves. The only real solution to the world's biggest challenges, whether it's climate change, inequality, racism, war, or poverty, is one that brings people together, because these problems don't respect borders, backgrounds, or beliefs. They affect us all, and they can only be solved when we stop pointing fingers and start joining hands. Unity is not weakness, it is not passivity, it is strength, it is resilience. It is the wisdom to know that we rise and fall together, and that no one wins when others are left behind. When we come together, not despite our differences but because of them, we gain new perspectives, ideas, and solutions we never could have imagined on our own. Every successful movement in history for justice, for freedom, for peace has only succeeded because people came together across lines that once divided them. Unity is the heartbeat of progress. It's what turns a scattered crowd into a community, and a loud moment into a lasting change. But unity must be intentional. It doesn't happen by accident. We have to build it through our words, our actions, our policies, and our choices. We must challenge those who profit from division. We must repair what's been broken. And we must be brave enough to believe that even now, even here, coming together is still possible, because the only solution, the one that leads to real, sustainable, transformative change, is a solution that includes everyone. And that means always choosing unity over division in an age dominated by instant results, rapid responses, and short-term gratification. Long-term thinking can feel outdated, even inconvenient. But the truth is, if we want real, lasting solutions to the challenges we face, we must shift our focus beyond the next deadline, the next trend, or the next election cycle. Long-term thinking is not just a strategy, it's a mindset, and it's essential. Many of the problems confronting us today are the direct result of short-term decisions. Policies made for political gain, businesses built for quarterly profits, and habits formed out of convenience rather than conscience. But when we only think about what's right in front of us, we sacrifice the future, we fix symptoms instead of root causes, we act quickly but not wisely. Long-term thinking asks a different set of questions. What will this choice mean in 5 years? How will future generations be affected by the decisions we make today? Are we building systems that can endure or ones that will collapse under their own weight? True solutions in society, in business, in relationships, and even within ourselves take time. They require patience, persistence, and the humility to accept that progress is often slow, sometimes invisible, but always worth it. Long-term thinking recognizes that growth doesn't happen overnight, and real transformation rarely follows a straight line. This kind of thinking is not passive. It demands boldness, the courage to invest in outcomes we might not live to see. It means planting seeds today, knowing we may never sit in the shade of the trees they become. It's the work of builders, visionaries, and ancestors, people who act not just for the now, but for the next. Consider the greatest advancements in human history: public health, civil rights, technology, education. None of these came from shortcuts or one-off actions. They were born from long-term thinking, plans carried across generations, sacrifices made with the future in mind, and leaders who dared to look beyond their own lifetimes. We must apply that same thinking today to how we treat the planet, how we educate our youth, how we design economies, and how we care for one another. Because the only solution to problems with deep roots is a mindset willing to stay for the long haul. In our personal lives, too, long-term thinking is transformative. It's the difference between chasing temporary success and building a meaningful life. It means making decisions that align with who we want to become, not just what we want right now. So let us pause, let us lift our eyes from the immediate and look to the horizon. Because real solutions, the kind that endure, that heal, that uplift, are only possible when we have the wisdom and the will to think not just for today, but for tomorrow, and every tomorrow after that. When we speak of change, it's easy to look outward, to blame systems, leaders, governments, or generations past, and yes, systems shape outcomes, yes, leadership matters, but if we are to create meaningful, lasting solutions, we must also look inward, because the only solution begins when we each take personal responsibility. Personal responsibility means recognizing that we are not just passive observers of the world, we are participants. Every choice we make, every word we speak, every silence we keep, either contributes to the problem or becomes part of the solution. It is tempting to wait for someone else to act. It's tempting to believe change is someone else's job. But progress begins the moment we stop waiting and start owning our part. This is not about guilt or self-blame. It's about empowerment. When we take responsibility for our attitudes, our actions, and our impact, we reclaim our power. We stop being victims of circumstance and become agents of change. Think of the ripple effect. One person choosing to live with integrity can influence an entire community. One student speaking out can shift a school culture. One employee standing up for ethics can change a company's direction. These shifts don't happen from the top down, they happen from the inside out. Taking personal responsibility means asking hard questions. Am I living by the values I expect from others? Am I contributing to the problems I criticize? Am I doing what I can where I am with what I have? We may not control everything, and we don't need to, but we do control how we respond. We control our effort, our attitude, our willingness to listen, to learn, and to lead. When more of us choose accountability over apathy, the world begins to change slowly, steadily, meaningfully. And personal responsibility isn't just about big, visible actions. Sometimes it's choosing empathy in a heated moment. Sometimes it's admitting a mistake. Sometimes it's doing the quiet, difficult work of unlearning bias, standing up for truth, or breaking destructive habits even when no one is watching. In today's world, it's easy to point fingers. It's harder and far more powerful to look in the mirror and ask, "What can I do?" The moment we each ask that question sincerely, consistently, is the moment change truly begins, because collective progress is made up of individual choices. Personal responsibility is not a burden, it is a gift. It is the understanding that even in a world filled with challenges, I am not powerless. So let us stop waiting for heroes. Let us stop hoping someone else will fix it. Let us instead become the solution we seek, starting with ourselves at the heart of every solution. Every breakthrough and every transformation lies one essential force, faith in possibility. Without it, nothing begins. With it, almost anything becomes achievable. Faith in possibility is the belief that things can be better even when they're not yet. It's the quiet, steady conviction that progress is not only needed, but possible. It's what fuels action in the face of despair and hope in the face of overwhelming odds. And in today's often cynical, divided, and discouraged world, this kind of faith is more radical and more necessary than ever. When people give up on possibility, they stop trying, they stop imagining, they stop building. The result is stagnation, not because change is impossible, but because too many people stopped believing it was worth pursuing. Faith in possibility is the antidote to that paralysis. It does not mean blind optimism. It doesn't mean ignoring injustice or pretending things are better than they are. True faith in possibility faces reality head on and chooses to act anyway. It acknowledges the pain, the failures, and the setbacks, but still believes in what could be. Every major advancement in human history started with someone who believed in a different future often before anyone else did. Abolishing slavery, securing civil rights, sending humans into space, advancing medicine, ending apartheid, empowering girls' education, these weren't easy victories, they were once considered impossible. But someone somewhere had the faith to try. That same spirit is needed now. Whether we're tackling climate change, rebuilding broken systems, healing communities, or changing our own lives, we must begin with the belief that better is possible and that our effort matters. Faith in possibility is also deeply personal. It's what keeps us going when we feel stuck or defeated. It's what allows us to keep working, keep loving, and keep creating, even when we've failed before. It's the inner voice that whispers, "This time can be different." And like courage, faith in possibility is contagious. When one person believes deeply and visibly, it invites others to believe too. That belief becomes a movement. That movement becomes change. But faith requires nurturing. It grows in community, in learning, in taking small steps that build momentum. It grows when we surround ourselves with stories of resilience, with people who uplift us, and with actions that align with our highest hopes. In the end, the only solution to despair, division, and defeat is not a guarantee of success. It is a refusal to stop believing that something better is still within reach. So even when the road is hard, when progress feels slow, when you feel like giving up, hold on to possibility. Because the people who change the world are not the ones who had all the answers. They are the ones who believed change was still possible and never stopped working toward it.